Hey everyone, and welcome to the video. So today we're taking a look at some products that have actually been sent to me. So this is the first time anybody's actually sent any free products out to me. This company, Zeera, actually contacted me on one of my other videos. I believe it was the AliExpress phone cases or possibly one of the charger videos. They actually got in touch and asked me whether I'd be interested in checking out some of their products. And this is basically what they've sent out. So obviously it's come with a little pamphlet, and this just basically highlights some of the kind of key features when it comes to their particular products. So what I'll do is I'll put an infographic on screen with details in terms of what that actually entails. And with regards to the products themselves, we'll start with the cable, and this is exactly how it's come to me. It came in an additional box, so I have unboxed it out of that, and this was shrink wrapped. Other than that, this exactly as they came to me. So first up we have the magnetic cable. This I've actually seen before, and this particular cable is available in a variety of different inputs. So you have USB-A to USB-C, which I believe is what I've got here. You also have USB-A to Lightning, you have USB-C to USB-C and USB-C to Lightning as well. And the thing with this particular cable is simply that it's got all of these little magnets all along the actual length of it. And if we just take a look, so there is little splices in the actual outer coating. So essentially what this is internally it's just going to be a normal cable, and then it's got this extra sort of layer around the outside, and then you have all these magnets. And the idea is that it just makes it very easy to actually quickly wrap up. And also, say for example, if you're charging this on your bedside desk table or something like that, and you don't want all the extra cable, say if you only need that much cable, then it means that the rest of it's actually tidied up essentially. It's all cable tied really nice and neat. And yeah, as I say, I've seen this particular type of cable before, and I really liked the idea of it. It just makes it, especially for travel, if you want to just chuck this into a travel bag or something, it just makes it really nice and easy to just quickly wrap that up, and it keeps it nice and neat every single time without having to use cable ties and anything additional. So that's the first sort of product. The second one that they've actually sent me is a case, I believe. So this will be their variant on the Magsafe sort of silicone case, so nothing else in there. And what I'll do is I'll just put that to a side, and let's take a look at what we get. So this is essentially what we're getting, and it's pretty similar to the Apple one, I believe. The difference, I believe, will be these sort of ridges. So I'm personally not a big fan of the ones that have the extra padding on the corners, just because it makes it a bit bigger. Obviously, and there we go. So the case itself is really nice and clear, and what we'll do is just get the dust off. I'll just pop my phone into it, and that's how it lines up. Very similar to the original Apple case. It does appear to have a few scratches on it. I don't know whether that's what it is. There's another, yeah, so it looks like there's another little piece of protective plastic just on this, an additional piece. There we go. That's a bit better. So loads of protective tape applied. Right, and there we go. So as I say, normally I'm not a great fan of having the extra bumper sort of sections on the tops, simply because it just makes it a bit bigger, makes it a bit harder to actually handle. But for the rest of it, it's not too bad. In terms of buttons, let's just get rid of any notifications. So buttons, I'm not very impressed with, to be perfectly honest. The side buttons, the volume buttons are a little mushy. So let me just check the lineup. In terms of access for the mute switch, that seems perfectly fine. In terms of the volume buttons, they're not great. I mean, they do work, they do function, but unlike the power button, which tends to have a little bit of a mushy click to it, the volume buttons are very, very mushy. So the volume buttons on this aren't great. As I said recently, that's one of the things that recently I've actually picked up on a lot, where I'm starting to prefer cases purely on how the buttons actually function. So, but that's included, and obviously you can make your own mind up on that. Okay, so this is basically the main thing that they actually contacted me regarding, and this was something that I was actually looking into anyway. So I was actually checking to see what options we actually had available on the market already. So you can probably tell by this. So this is basically a car mount, and the difference between this and a lot of other ones is the fact that this actually comes with a charging port. So the biggest flaw with the one that's actually available directly is the fact that it doesn't actually have any charging functionality. So unfortunately, basically, yeah, you can stick it on your dash like that, but it's not gonna, you've got no option to actually magnetically charge at the same time. Whereas with this, and I believe that is a USB-C. Yep, so USB-C cable, and basically you whack it on and it's charging. So we have a few different types of bases, and I think this is the kind of the key point with this particular product. It's the fact that, so that is actually removable, and then you have the option of, this is basically your sort of desk or dash mount, and with this basically what you would have to do is peel this off and obviously stick it into a location. So obviously if you don't want to use your vent mount, so this whole setup here essentially is your vent mount. So what you do is obviously you undo this, you pop that in, and then you tighten this back up. So essentially this is like a two-part kind of deal. So this, maybe there's probably been generic ones in the past where if you take a look at the size of that, as you can see, this can be used with other phones as well. So if you just have a non-12 iPhone 12 model, then what you can do is obviously remove this, just stick that onto the back of your inside of your case or something. So obviously I don't like sticking stuff directly onto the phone. So essentially with that, what you could do would be, obviously if it wasn't a MagSafe case, you stick that there. And then once you do that, obviously it'll stick directly to this particular part. Because if you just look at this against the case, it's not sticking because the magnet's too small. Obviously this is made for this particular one where you've got a much bigger surface area and it actually grips it, and it's still not going to align straight, so they still don't have anything that actually aligns with the bottom ones. But that in this scenario it doesn't actually matter, because in theory with this you want to actually be able to rotate it if you ever need to use your phone in landscape mode, so similar to that. Now as I was saying with this, obviously you have the functionality of the vent mount, and just taking a look at this, okay, yeah, so you have a little button. So this is better than some where it's literally just a spring on its own, and you kind of have to just force it in and hope that it grips on. So with this, obviously you've got the functionality where you have this extra little lip on the end, and I'm guessing what that will do is once you actually push it into the vent, it'll go over the whole sort of black clip, the moving part of your vent, and then you can obviously just clamp this back down. Now that is actually quite strong, so if I put my finger in there, it does actually grip quite strong. I'll try and demonstrate with that. So as you can see, it's got pretty good clamping force. And then obviously the option with this is you can mount this anywhere in your car. You can stick that just on the dash on the side by your entertainment system, something like that, if you don't want it by the actual vents. Or you can go with the full option, which is this, and then basically it will grip the whole thing. And let's just test the strength. So with the phone alone, it's not great, but to be fair, most items when it comes to MagSafe with the phone alone haven't actually performed that well. So once you put a case on it, as you can see, most sort of vibration that you get in the car is probably about that much, unless you've got a really bad suspension. This I'm guessing should actually perform fine. What we'll do is I'll try and insert another clip just showing how it looks in the car and what type of setups you can actually have with this as well. So in terms of the products that they've actually sent out, as I said, I've seen the cable before. With this you can literally specify what type of cable you want, what ends you want on it, on both ends, and you can choose whatever suits you. With regards to the mount itself, obviously this is USB-C. Now I don't know whether this actually specifies whether it does actually have any different type. I don't think it does. So I think this will only come in USB-C, which for most people, as most people go with the slogan of USB-C everything, I think for most people USB-C will be fine. And obviously the cable that's come with mine, USB-A to USB-C, is probably what's perfect for most cars, because most people have a USB-A port as opposed to having a USB-C port. 3 different mounts, so you have your desk, your mount, and your wall mount. So this presumably will be your wall mount, and this once again is actually magnetic as well. So I'd actually missed this particular piece. So what you can do is obviously stick this on here. Obviously it'd be the other way around, something like that. And then you can mount this anywhere. So you can stick this on a wall or something like that. That then connects onto here, which is actually really strong. That's a really strong magnet. And then obviously you can use this just like that. So essentially what this is doing is it's giving you 3 in 1. So you have your vent mount, you have a sort of swivel mount that you can mount in a lot more locations, and these all just mount straight onto the back of that. And then you also have your sort of individual one where you can just mount this anywhere essentially. It looks like it's made out of metal, so in theory this will stick to other surfaces as well, and it does seem to be magnetic itself because it's actually repelling in certain locations on these magnets. So I think the back of this is actually magnetic, so essentially you could stick this on your fridge and then obviously do that, and now you have like a full magnetic setup. It's just more functionality essentially, and looks like I did actually miss the cable as well. So it actually comes with another USB-C to USB-A cable inside this pack as well. So this part itself comes basically all self-contained. So essentially what you could do is with this alone, you've got all your setup just there, all matching cables, so you don't have no basically glaringly obvious white cable standing out. And then you have your sort of swivel mount. This, as you can see, can be rotated on a ball joint. It is actually quite stiff, so I don't think this will actually move with the weight of the phone alone. Obviously this is a Pro Max, so if it's not going to move on this one, then it probably won't move with anything. So what I'll do is I'll do it all the way up, and then just on there, I mean it aligns pretty strong. That's a pretty strong grip just there. And if I do it the opposite way, so it's all the way up, and now I just hold the weight. As you can see, the phone isn't actually moving or adjusting. You do need to actually put a bit of force in to actually adjust that. This is probably obviously more suited to just mounting on the side of your dash, whereas this one, obviously your dash mount. We'll go and take a look at this in a second. Okay, so that is everything that you actually get inside this pack essentially. So you get the case, you get the magnetic cable, you get the actual MagSafe charging port itself. Obviously this is both a charger as well as a phone holder, and then you get 3 different sort of mounting brackets if you like, and then you get obviously the accompanying 3M tape. These ones are both just magnetic plates. These are more universal, so then you can use them with other models. So if we take a look at the paperwork, it does actually say it's compatible with the iPhone 11 series using obviously these things. You can just stick them into whichever case you have. The raised bumper on the screen, so this is basically giving you some lay on the table design. So whilst I don't like having the extra bumpers on the corners, obviously it's there to serve a purpose, and obviously it does help in terms of protecting the actual phone screen. I personally use a screen protector anyway, so that's not too big of an issue for me, but obviously it does mean that it is giving you some lay on the table design. Each one of these has basically 36 magnets plus the 2 in these, so it's got nice and strong adhesion essentially, pretty much probably matching what the genuine case will do. I never personally bought the clear MagSafe case. I don't personally like these sort of plasticky cases. I tend to prefer the ones that actually have a black border or something around the edge just to give some contrast, but on these particular phones a lot of people have liked them just because it does actually show off your stainless steel borders a bit better. Okay, so that's everything with regards to the different parts. What we'll do now is we'll go take a look at this inside the car and we'll see how it all works. Okay, so here we are inside the car now, and I'll just give you a quick rundown in terms of how it goes on. So as you can see, the sort of jaw of this mount would essentially fit around the actual fins for the actual heating elements, and if it reaches in all the way, you can obviously do it to the ones that are further back. On my particular car, that wouldn't actually work out too well, so basically I would have it mounted like that. Now this part itself is a bit flimsy. These on my car aren't great. This is a Volkswagen, and then you just stick that on. That adheres nice and tough, and then essentially you just take it near it, get it in focus, and as you can see, we have had some snow, so yeah, I mean, you can pretty much use it pretty roughly. And obviously on my example, my car, it's not great because these have never been very good for mounting anything. So in my car, I'd probably be more considering something like this, where perhaps similar to my built-in one, you'd stick this somewhere on the side, something like that, and then you'd basically attach all the other ones onto this, and you'd basically do the same thing. That would actually make a much more sort of solid base. But as you can see, even with this one, you can tap it about, and it's not actually, even though it's shaking quite a bit, that's obviously the vent itself that's shaking. The mount itself doesn't actually come off quite easily, so the grip itself is fine. But as I say, for my particular vehicle, something like this would probably be a bit better. This obviously you can also mount on top of the dash, and then because it does something like that, obviously not here but behind there, so something like that. And then because these do extend out once you actually build it up, it does mean that obviously it's not going to be straight over the vents. Now I don't actually use these vents. I never have the air blowing towards me, so for me that won't be a problem. For people that do, then obviously you need to use the one that's more suitable for your use case. In this particular car, I'll only have it blowing the vents up or down. I don't like having the air blowing towards me, so that's not really a massive issue for me. Obviously, if you do use these vents, then you don't really want to have warm air or cold air, depending on which one it is, blowing onto the back of your phone. Yeah, that basically, if you just get in your car, just quickly chuck it on, and that should be fine. Now, because of the weather, I'm not going to go for a drive right now, but what we'll do is, if I do have an issue with this whilst I'm driving, then I'll do an updated video. If not, then just assume that it holds enough to where even with the bad roads in Derby where I live, if it holds up to those, then it should be fine anywhere, because the roads where I live are absolutely terrible. So yeah, if there's another section to this, then I'll insert it, but if not, then you can assume that this actually grips strong enough to where it's not going to give you a problem. Okay, so I didn't really touch on the charging side of things fully in my initial video. So what I wanted to do was just point out the fact that once you've connected your USB-C cable, you will get a little red LED. It flashes blue and red when it's first booting up. Now, on the notes that Zeera actually sent out, they did also mention that some of the products will actually have a plastic coating applied. So if yours has a plastic coating, be sure to actually remove that in order to get the maximum adhesion possible. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pop my phone on, and I've got basically this is the thickest case I could actually find in terms of being an actual MagSafe case. This is the leather one that I actually reviewed a few weeks back. And what I'm going to do is I'll just pop this on and we'll see what happens. So as you can see, it does the animation, does the sound, and the grip was very, very strong. So you can probably tell by the sound it actually makes. And as you can see, that's not coming off. So it did break the connection slightly for a second. I actually felt it move slightly, but that was more so because it actually tugged on the cable more so than anything else. But yeah, it does do the animation, it does do the sound, and charging seems pretty much on point. Okay, so that was a first look at the Zeera Magsafe kit that they sent out to me. Once again, thanks very much to Zeera for actually reaching out to me and basically sending these out for review. This was literally just a quick first look, so obviously what I will do is I'll make use of all these products, and then I'll also test this with other Magsafe cases that I've got, the silicone case and the leather case as well that I've got, and then I'll basically report back, because not everybody is going to want to use the one that comes with it as part of the kit, or they might not even be using the official one either. So I'll try it with a variety of different kits and basically try it with other locations within the car as well, and then what I'll do is I'll do a follow-up video, and in that I'll basically give my final thoughts in terms of how the product actually performs. Obviously the biggest thing about this one is the fact that you can actually charge it, and it charges at the full 15 watts rather than just being a mount, which is what the official one that can't remember the actual company that made it, might have been Spigen, I'm not 100% sure on that, but there's one that basically Apple have available on the App Store, and that literally just works as a mount and nothing else. So as you can see, I mean, I'm able to pick this up quite easily. So the magnets in this are very strong. The biggest flaw for me so far in terms of first look is the design of my vents. So this part itself, obviously the flex in my vents isn't very good. Now the one sort of already the early note that I've actually come up with is the sort of silver part that you actually adjust the vents with. I'd actually be much better off actually clamping this around that, because that's actually a lot more sturdy than the individual plastic is on the slits themselves. But yeah, this is probably more suited in terms of mounting it for my car. So yeah, I'll make use of these, and then I'll do a follow-up, and I'll basically give you my final thoughts in terms of how I think these actually performed. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, that way you won't miss out on that video. I'd really appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up as well. And other than that, thanks very much for watching.